My friends, it is always a very special pleasure and privilege to speak here at the Liberal Jewish Synagogue, where my family were members when I was a young child, and where I now have the honor of being your scholar in residence. And it's a very particular pleasure to be part of a service led by Rabbi Igor Zinkov, who, as you have heard, has just been in Warsaw, where no doubt he has been putting his Russian language skills to good use in our currently unfolding European crisis. It's just 5 weeks ago here tonight that, led by Igor, the synagogue hosted a solidarity service with the Ukrainian Jewish community featuring our colleague Rabbi Julia Gris from Odessa. The trauma that Ukrainians have been going through is utterly horrendous. But if the Jewish community is anything to go by, it does seem that in a Europe at war, faith groups are able to reach out across national divides, to gather in and to understand different perspectives, and to begin to grasp the enormity of the issues: death, flight, exile, and the environmental and economic consequences which are going to affect not just Ukraine, but all of us for many years to come. This week, I've been the online host for our Oxford Three Faiths conference for Jews, Christians, and Muslims, and our theme this year has been climate change. It's the 12th such conference for which I've been on the organizing team, and we've been considering both a theological and a practical approach to making the world a sustainable place for future generations. Most of the world's population, an estimated 80%, identify with a religion. And so we started planning our conference with the thought that faith leaders have to be on board if we are to get the world's population on board as well with tackling climate change. As Leobeck College student Shulamit Morris Evans put it so well for us yesterday, having a faith identity enables you to speak more directly to your community because you speak from within. And worldwide, this is huge. The 6th report of the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which was published earlier this month, makes sobering reading. Climate, ecosystems, biodiversity, and human societies are interdependent issues. The big issues of our time all interlock. The nearly 4,000 pages of the report give highly detailed evidence of what is happening to our world and our ability to adapt. Climate change has caused substantial damage and irreversible losses, both on land and on water ecosystems, with the extent and depth being larger than estimated in previous assessments. But who has heard of this 4,000-page report? It has been drowned out by the drums of war. Last night, Channel 4 News interviewed a man in the historic city of Odessa, one of the great cradles of the Jewish Enlightenment, the Haskalah. He was bracing himself to defend his city. He said to Channel 4, "I am a Jew. My grandparents were attacked in this city, not because they were Ukrainians, but because they were Jews. And now I am being attacked in this same city, not because I'm a Jew, but because I am a Ukrainian." This is the world in which we find ourselves today. The global cooperation which is so vital for the future of our planet is not even on the agenda in Europe at this moment. But ordinary people are still working and working to build peace. As people wait patiently to cross the border out of Ukraine, refugees have found food stations set up by local churches. And for those who've managed to escape westwards, faith communities are helping across Europe. The work that is being done and the compassion that so many people are showing are signs of hope. In past centuries, philosophers and theologians debated the merits of the vita contemplativa, a life of thought, versus the vita activa, the life of action. Our conference is based around the idea that thought has to lead to action. And our Torah portion this week includes the familiar dietary laws which govern our kosher food. And it's often been said that the purpose of these laws is to teach us self-discipline, that we were not put into this world simply to grab all we can, but to exercise restraint. And such a lesson is also taught by the idea of Shabbat, our day of rest, when we stop working the world and tilling the earth and spend time walking in the world, as we will have our eco-pilgrimage at our conference tomorrow and enjoying its produce. And in our tradition, we have not only a seventh day of rest, but a seventh year of rest. And this very year is such a year. We call it the Shemitah year, the sabbatical year, when the earth too, we believe, has to take a breather. And what's more, our three faith traditions, Jews, Christians, and Muslims, all point out how we must replace what we take from the earth. I noticed at our conference that quite independently of each other, three of our Muslim speakers quoted the same text. It must be important, I thought, so I looked it up and I found it. It's from that part of Muslim tradition called the Hadith, stories of the Prophet. It goes like this in English. Anas ibn Malik reported, "The messenger of God, peace upon him, said, even if the last day, that is the day of resurrection, comes to one of you while he has in his hand a sapling, let him plant it." And the Arabic reads, In kamat Allah ahadikum al-qiyama wa fi yadihi fazla falyagrisha. Now, there is a similar and probably older saying from our rabbis. It's recorded in the rabbinic work Avot the Rabbi Natan, but in what's known as the B text, which wasn't really known well until it was published by Solomon Schechter in 1887. Im hayata natiya b'toch yadacha vayomru lach harelacha hamashiach bo v'nata et hanatiya. It's in the name of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who taught, if you have a sapling in your hand and someone says to you that the Messiah has come, stay and finish the planting and then go to greet the Messiah. Now, if you listen to the sound of the Arabic and Hebrew, you may have noticed that the structure of the two sentences with their conditional clauses is exactly the same. And even the shift from you in the second person to he comes in both the Muslim and the Jewish saying. They must have a common source. And there's a similar quote attributed to Martin Luther If I knew the world would end tomorrow, I would still plant my tree. This afternoon, our conference heard how Jews, Christians, and Muslims, mayors and governments have been working together across the Middle East to increase the supply of fresh and safe water, water that people and saplings too need. Faith communities can and are working together across divides on green issues in the Middle East, just as they are working across divides helping refugees in Europe. And listening to our discussions, it's clear to me that people of faith can be particularly good at bringing people of difference together. Many might object that the world's great faiths have historically not been very good at preventing war, and that is true. But the world's great faiths have also been in the lead at building peace and justice and caring about our planet. As Rabbi Jonathan Wittenberg put it at our conference yesterday, lobbying is an essential part of what faith communities have to do. And if we do it across faiths, it is more powerful. We have to talk values to power and be persistent and courageous and outspoken. Or as Rabbi Frank Dabber-Smith put it this afternoon, encounters with strangers can be amazing gifts, moving from the tension to the exchange and the friendship. As those of you who attend our adult education programs in this synagogue know, Dr. Harith Ramli, who is also on our Three Faiths team, Dr. Ramli and I have been teaching a series called Judaism and Islam, A Shared History. I find it fascinating to discover the texts and traditions we have in common. But our conference this week is not so much about a shared history, but really about a shared future, inspired by our common tradition. And yes, those little sayings that we didn't really know that we shared. I happen to believe that Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are only at the start of our journey together, and that our tangled and often tragic past can become an intertwined and harmonious future. We will not solve the world's problems very soon. But when day dawns, we can plant a tree together. In that which we share, let us see the common prayer of humanity. In that which we differ, let us wonder at human freedom. And in our unity and our differences, let us know the uniqueness and the unity that is God. May our meeting with past and present bring blessing for the future. Shabbat Shalom.